Hey, welcome back to Mako's Mythic Menagerie. And today I wanted to ask, what the heck are sea kings? No, not that sea king. No, not him either. No. Are you serious? Alright, there we go. So sea kings are massive sea monsters that exist in the world of One Piece. And for a story that's been going on for over 20 years, they appear surprisingly early. The first chapter features one such monster known as the Lord of the Coast. And despite making an imposing introduction, the Lord of the Coast is actually one of the smallest sea kings we've seen in the story. So let's talk about that a little bit. There seem to be two subcategories of sea king. We have the smaller, more wild sea kings like the Lord of the Coast that seem to live in the four blues, north, east, south, and west, as well as the Calm Belt, which borders the Grand Line. And then we have the highly intelligent sea kings that are seen during the Fishman Island arc, who seem to live exclusively in the Grand Line. And these intelligent sea kings seem to live for centuries, because they've stated that 800 years ago they agreed to pool the massive ship known as the Noah for a plan that never came to fruition and whose details we currently do not know of. Sea kings come in a massive variety of body shapes to date, and we've never seen two that look the same. However, due to their size and serpentine features, we can set them apart from other sea monsters seen in the story. Most creatures fear and avoid sea kings, save for a few. You've got the Bananawari, which are massive crocodilians that we first see in the Alabasta arc that have a banana-shaped growth on the tops of their heads, and they have been stated to be the only known creatures that prey on the sea kings. You've also got the Yuta, seen after the Sabaody Archipelago arc, while Luffy is on Amazon Lily, and these are giant sea snakes that are stated that sea kings stay away from because they're too ferocious and poisonous for even a sea king to bother hunting. And then you have other creatures like the Blue Gory from the Impel Down arc, as well as giants such as Dory and Bragi, who are seen easily killing sea kings with the use of weapons. So a few interesting facts about sea kings is that you can apparently avoid their detection with the use of sea stone, which sea stone is a mineral that it's stated to have the same properties as the sea. A little iffy if you ask me, but we see the world government implement sea prism stone on the bottoms, the hulls of their ships, so that they can go through the Calm Belt without encountering any sea kings, as we see with Momonga, who was sitting outside of Amazon Lily before the war arc, hoping to get her to aid the world government against Whitebeard. Another little interesting tidbit about sea kings is that although it is common for mermaids in the One Piece world to be able to speak to fish, they cannot use this ability on the sea kings. The sea kings are always out of their reach. However, once every few hundred years, there is a mermaid said to be born with the ability to speak to sea kings, and we see this with Shirahoshi, the princess of Fishman Island, who is the new Poseidon, and Poseidon is one of the three ancient weapons that plague the One Piece world, the others being Pluton and Uranus. Sea kings pull heavily from leviathans and other sea serpents in our mythology. So I wanted to touch on that a little bit. Leviathans often appear as sea serpents, but were also used to describe whales and large crocodilians. The name appears in many books of the Hebrew Bible, such as Psalms, the Book of Job, the book of Isaiah, and the book of Amos. The Leviathan was described as a feminine monster dwelling in the sea, who, along with Behemoth, her land-dwelling male counterpart, would be served up as a great feast for the righteous at the end of days. Sea serpents also feature prominently in the mythology of the ancient Near East. There is 3rd millennium BC iconography of Sumeria depicting the god Ninurta overcoming a 7-headed serpent. But worldwide, people used maps and sea charts depicting serpents and other sea monsters to indicate dangerous parts of the sea or various superstitions. Anywhere from the ancient Greeks to the Vikings to Pacific Islanders to the pirates of the Caribbean had these various charts and graphs that would tell them where not to go for there was a sea monster. Alright, so I wanted to touch on some of the famous serpents in our own real-world mythology. So, one of the most famous sea serpents comes from Homer's The Iliad, the story of Odysseus' 10-year trial to get home after fighting in the Trojan War for another 10 years. So, on his way home, he comes across this strait between two pieces of land where the two monsters live. The first is a massive beast that lives under the water, and whenever it gets hungry, it opens its massive mouth and sucks in thousands of gallons of water, forming a massive whirlpool that sucks anything and everything down to the depths of the ocean. And then on the other side, you have a 6-headed serpent called Scylla, which lives in the cave system, and anyone passing by, it'll eat 6 of the sailors. And to counteract this, Odysseus, he decides he'd rather lose 6 of his loyal men rather than have everyone sucked to their death. And he risks passing past Scylla, and of course Scylla picks apart Odysseus' crew, but the rest of the crew are able to go about their journey. Now in Norse mythology, you have the serpent, the world serpent known as Jormungandr. And this is a serpent that was said to lay under the oceans and was so long it could wrap the entire world. So a few of the stories of Jormungandr. There's one story that says that on a fishing trip that Thor took with the giant by the name of Hymir, and despite Hymir's protest, Thor decides that they're going to go out to sea further than they normally would after Hymir refuses to give Thor any bait, and so Thor cuts off an ox's head to use. So they go further out to sea than they would normally head out, and Thor sets up his line, heavy line, big hook, and uses this ox head as bait. And after a while, he pulls up Jormungandr, the world serpent. The two face off, and Jormungandr is spraying blood and poison all over the place. And as Thor goes to reach for his hammer, Ymir, white with fear, pale with fear, goes and cuts the line, and Jormungandr returns to the bottom of the sea. And this scene is very popular in Norse mythology. There's a lot of art depicting, I'll show it on screen, Jormungandr versus Thor in the sea. But there's an even more well-known tale known today, and that's the tale of Ragnarok, which was said to be signaled by the unrest of the oceans, which was caused by Jormungandr thrashing his way onto land. And another beast, a giant wolf by the name of Fenrir, would set half the world ablaze, while Jormungandr fills the skies of the other half with poison. And during this event, it was said that Thor would meet Jormungandr for the third and final time, and that he would be so occupied fighting the serpent that he would be unable to help the other gods of the Pantheon, and eventually he would succeed in killing Jormungandr. Unfortunately, he would only live to walk 9 paces away before he too dropped dead of the venom that he got during the fight. So I just wanted to kind of touch on, where a little bit about where Sea Kings come from and their real world counterparts. Thank you for watching, and tune in next time when I talk about something else. Bye.